We knew it was going to be a little chaotic, thinking about finance, thinking about administration and operations and human resources, and all the different critical areas of a business. So we thought that to help us navigate through the chaos, we would move from self-implementing some of the tenets of EOS that I had heard about at a CEO during a CEO peer group. And hiring Ross Gibbs was one of the best decisions that we've ever made. He's had an impact on our business. He's had an impact on elevating our client experience. He's had an impact on the health and balance of our employees. So it's just been a win-win. And at Par McKnight, we're dedicated as part of our client service model to offer at least a couple of educational webinars throughout the course of the year, and maybe a couple of entertaining webinars during the course of the year. We hope this is both for you today. So we've got Ross Gibbs, who is going to run through how we can effectively run our business with EOS. And then as a special bonus, we have some of our favorite professionals that are friends of Par McKnight. We've got Wade Christensen from the CPA firm Furling Anderson, who's going to give us the latest tax tips from the OBBBA, and our favorite estate planning attorneys over at Monroe Moxness, Scott Hughesby and Natalie Roberts. So we'll get to that at the end. They've each got 5 minutes to give you some hard-hitting, good bullet points on how to save money on taxes, how to prepare a proper estate plan, and how to prepare a business for sale at an optimal price. And even if you're not thinking about selling your business, why wouldn't we try to maximize the value of our business by taking care of our employees and our leadership team, and most of all, the clients that we serve? So I'm going to just do a quick ad on Par McKnight because I can. It is one of my favorite subjects. Nelson, if you could advance the slides, or Ross, just a couple minutes here. The print is really small, and I'm knocking on the door of 60, so I'm just going to go off the cuff. We are 16 people, independent registered investment advisor. We have 6 certified financial planners, and we are a true ensemble team, which means that everybody knows everything about every client. We just got through one of our L10 meetings last week. It was our advisors got together, and we talk about every meeting that we have, every client that we've interacted. So when our clients work with us, it's not like they work with one advisor. They hire 6 advisors. And one of my favorite parts of our team is that we have advisors in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s. And like I said, I'm knocking on the door of 60. So we have this multi-generational perspective that I think just bears great fruit on our client relationships. What we do can be summarized in 3 words. It's clarity, confidence, and structure. We help give clarity to our clients of their entire financial horizon. The confidence of knowing that they're with a trusted advisor and they have a plan in place to have their wealth serve their greatest purpose and joy while we're on this blue ball we call Earth. And then as a firm, we've put in a structure to revisit them and revisit their goals and their plans and their investment portfolio and stay in touch and really elevate that client experience. Who do we work with? Our 3 core areas that we've developed expertise in and have all the tools to serve these types of clients are: number 1, business owners. We own a business. We have the same issues as business owners, and we've got a system like EOS to help us forage through the forest. We also work with corporate executives who are really driven individuals. They're driven by their companies. They don't have a lot of time. They struggle with balance, and they want a trusted partner to delegate and collaborate on their financial affairs. And we also work with what I call second half planners. And those are people that are really serious about turning the corner from work and going from paycheck to playcheck, and really having a purpose-driven second half of life. So that's who we work with. Let me introduce our key speaker, Ross Gibbs. I ran into at a financial advisor symposium in Florida. And one of my trusted colleagues was working with Ross, and he introduced Ross as a valued employee for whom he doesn't have to pay a 401k match for or health insurance for.
I love
Ross is
it.
actually a native of Minnesota. He grew up in Ham Lake, right, Ross? And then,
It
yeah,
was an H. It was Hugo, but close.
oh, I'm sorry, Hugo. And then he's out of Fort Myers, Florida. And actually, Gino Wickman, the author of this wonderful book, Traction, that sprung the EOS system, calls Ross his man in Florida. He brings out the best in our minds and hearts so that we can serve our clients, serve our employees, and share some of our blessings with society. So, Ross, I think I took my 5 minutes. I'm going to turn it over to you, and
Mm.
let's rock it.
Awesome. Tony, thank you so much for the introduction. And I just got to say this, you guys are just amazing to work with and just super grateful for this opportunity. Again, if you're a solopreneur or you add one person, you've just created complexity in your business. So this what I'm about to talk about, think of it as a playbook on how to show up at work and deliver your best in your work environment. So, a couple things here, agenda. I'm going to give you the why. Why do companies kind of gravitate towards EOS? I'll go through the model at a super high level. And then I'm going to give you the 80-20 here, meaning what are the 5 foundational tools that really delivers 80% of the results? And then the last part, Tony's going to go through each of the panelists and you'll hear some real world insight. And so we'll conclude after that. That's the agenda. Here we go. There we go. All right. So what's the why? Why do people do EOS? Well, some of you have been here, not all of you, but some of you have had some of these where sometimes we've got pointless meetings. We've got issues that last for days, weeks, quarters, months, years. They just go on, and you just don't know how to break through the ceiling. Sometimes there's no plans and there's no sharing. It's all in our heads, and we get a little frustrated when people don't listen. And we lack priorities. We make everything important when everything's important. We all know the answer, nothing is. And again, we make it up new each time. It's like a flavor of the month, right? Seminar of the month. And we're trying to break through and we just can't. And so a lot of owners too will create whiplash. Hey, let's do this and let's do that. And there's just lack of clarity. And that happens quite a bit. And very little or zero communication. Everybody's going to mind reading school and it just doesn't work. And so a lot of times we just don't have any idea of, are we winning or losing as owners or as employees? I'm putting myself in the employee seat for a second. And we're sometimes unclear on who does what. Even if you're in a one-person business, as soon as you add somebody, this system will help you scale your business just by adding one person. And again, we can be dysfunctional. The right hand's unclear about the left hand. So let's talk about the EOS model. So let's talk about why this is important. So here's the big discovery, guys, is to the degree that I can get you or you can focus on 6 key areas, you're going to get more out of what you're doing. Let me say it a different way. Right now, you're thinking of 136 things on this call right now. And to the degree that you implement successfully these 6 key components I'm about to go through, many of those 136 things are going to start falling into place because many of them are symptomatic issues that happen over and over again because we really haven't dealt with the root issue. So here we go. It starts with the vision. This is, again, where we're going and how we're going to get there. But here's the big discovery. Leaders don't lack vision, guys. Here's the problem. When you get a lot of leaders in the room, they just don't align. We've got to get aligned on what the vision is. Number 2, and 2 disciplines there. Number 2 is people. Can't achieve the vision without great people. And I know you realize this, but if I were to pull your leadership team into a room right now and ask each of them, hey, what's great look like? I might get 5 to 7 different answers. And we got to get really clear on what great looks like. 2 disciplines there. The next one is the data component. And this is where we kind of cut through the personalities and the opinions and kind of like the politics of running a business. And we boil it down to a handful of activity-based numbers that says we won the week. Most people don't look at their P&L till the 15th or at all. And at best, you're 45 days late. And you only have 12 chances a year to fix it. Imagine having a weekly scorecard and now we have 52 chances to fix it. That's what we're talking about. Get a pulse on the business, two disciplines there. If you do these three things well, everybody, you're going to create an open, honest, lucid environment. And what's going to stand out are your issues. And for the first time, we're not going to interrupt each other with every little issue because that gets time consuming. You got to deal with the red alerts. But could we hold on to our issues, bring them to our meetings, talk about them, and learn and grow from each other so we don't keep repeating them over and over again? Two disciplines there, because this is an epidemic in a lot of companies. They just don't know how to solve their problems. And I will say this, once the vision's clear, problem solving gets a lot easier. So two disciplines there. The next one is the process component. This is the most neglected by business because it doesn't bring you money when you first do it. It's a little boring, to be honest, but this is what's going to set you free. This is what's going to increase your multiples when you go sell because you're going to look really organized. And when your best person leaves, the next best person can do it the same way. So this is where we dial in your business model. We make it more fun, more manageable, more scalable, and more profitable. Really important. Two disciplines there. And then the last one, guys, is traction. That's the book Traction. That's where all this comes from. When you think of traction, think accountability, discipline, execution. And so we have a saying in EOS, vision without traction is hallucination. It's not going to happen. You can create a vision tomorrow, but if we don't execute on it, it won't happen. Two disciplines there. And so that's the model. It stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. It was created by Gino, great friend of mine out of Michigan in 2007. And since then, about 28,000, close to 30,000 companies are running on EOS, with an implementer. 300,000 companies are self-implementing. And I've helped over probably 95 companies, and I'm up to about 1,000 sessions now. So everything I'm about to tell you today is simple. It's not easy. There's no magic pills. There's no silver bullets. Everything I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to warn you, is super simple, but not easy. It's like working out. Sounds simple, but guess what? We got to get up, got to get in our car, got to put the clothes on, got to go do it. So most people know how to do these, but they just don't. And that's why this is so important. So this is really a roadmap on how to show up and be successful. The goal would be, hey, I would love all of you to be 100%, but that's utopia. Let's not lie. That's not going to happen. The goal is to get you to 80% or better as we go through this process. And again, you get to 80% or better in each of these 6 key components, you'll be operating your business in the top 5%. Most companies, when I start, got to work really hard. They're between 20 and 40%, right? And these are the 12 disciplines. We're not going to get into today. I'm only going to get into 5 of these. So I'm going to give away 5 things today. Everything I'm talking about is free. It's downloadable. You can go to EOS Worldwide. There's no selling today. I'm giving it away. Literally, you could read the book and start implementing this tomorrow. So it's all there. And if anyone wants a free book, I'll give it to them afterwards. I'll tell you how to do that. So here's the 5 EOS foundational tools. It does about 80% of the heavy lifting. So I'm going to go through this quickly. It's going to feel like a fire hose. If you have questions while I'm talking, put them in the chat. And at the end, we're going to answer these live, and Tony and their company will answer some questions as well. So here we go. It starts with the Vision Traction Organizer. This is an amazing document, managing your business on one piece of paper, literally. I'm going to show you it in a second. We've got to answer 8 questions as a leadership team. The vision has to come from the leaders. It doesn't come from everybody. It's got to come from the 3 to 7 at the top. That's who I work with. We've got to answer the 8 questions. And to the degree that we can answer these 8 questions, we now have a vision to share every quarter. We'll talk about that. So it comes from the leadership team, as I said, 100% leadership team and company alignment. It's really your story. When you see what this looks like, it's really your story. You'll see this in a second. And then we got to share it by all, meaning they probably got to hear it 7 to 10 times before they hear it the first time. They're not going to be excited like you, but after a while, they're going to realize, wow, this is just what they do. And we're very organized. That's really cool. And we're just going to get aligned. And that's where we're going. So let's look at the Vision Traction Organizer. Here's the 8 questions. What's your core values? What's your core focus? What's your 10-year target? What's your marketing strategy? 3-year picture? What's your 1-year plan? What are your quarterly rocks to get that plan done? And then what are all the issues? So let's go back one at a time. What's your core values? And again, this gets misplayed a lot, but what are the core behaviors to be successful in your business? That's where we're writing 3 to 7. And I always say, this is your garlic. What do you reek of? When I open a jar of garlic, what do you smell? I smell garlic. When I walk into your company, and we don't make these up, they're discovered, they're already there. What are the 3 to 7 behaviors that makes every employee successful at your company? That's what we got to write here. So mine are, I got 5. Humbly confident, do the right thing, do what I say, help first, grow or die. I reek of those. And quite frankly, anyone who isn't that will get expunged. Next one, core focus, been called many things in business. Mission statement, vision statement. Stephen Covey called it the voice. Jim Collins called it the hedgehog concept. Sorry for the new term, but it comes from the absolute core. Our purpose, cause, or passion. This is our why. And then our niche is our unique ability, our God-given talent. And in combination becomes our laser focus. Companies without core focus have a lot of whiplash. They're always going back and forth, and we've got to stay focused. And once you've nailed this down, you're going to, what I call, filter out the shiny object syndrome. Oh, we're in this business. Let's do this and let's do that. Nope, it doesn't align with our core focus. Companies that lack core focus are all over the place. Next one, 10-year target. This is just what we're landing on. If you notice, this is number 3 and not number 1. If we don't know who we are, why we show up, and what we do, the rest of this document means nothing, because that is the soul of the organization. Who are you? Why do you show up and what you do? And I always say, people don't lead, purposes do. We've got to have a why. If you don't have a compelling why, when you get knocked off your horse or you have your worst day, I go back to my why. It reminds me the next day I'm right back in the saddle and we're going back. So 10-year target is what we're landing on. That's the where. So now we know who we are, why we show up, what we do, where we're going. How are we going to do that? That's the marketing strategy. So you got to have a target market, but you got to commit to going after that target market. So it's not who you're willing to help, it's where you're committed to financial marketing dollars to go after that. So who are they? Where are they located? How do they need to think to be great for you? Demographic, geographic, psychographic. But the psychographics are the most important. What is a good client? How do they need to think to be good for you? Because as Gino says, you don't want them all and you don't need them all. And when you've nailed this, you're going to do what I call the dirty dozen exercise. You're going to pick your 12 worst clients. You're going to make them profitable, get them to play nice, or you got to let them go. That's okay. And then what's your 3 uniques? What makes you different? You might have 1 in common with the competitor, maybe 2, but man, when you put all 3 in, boom. Tony, what's your 3 uniques?
Our people, our process, and our philosophy.
Right. So the whole company must deliver those 3 things. So it's not a salesy thing. They're going to be on your emails, your website. They're going to be on your trucks if you have them. They're going to be everywhere. And I obsess. Mine's vision, traction, healthy. I obsess over that. Then what is your proven process? It's a visual illustration. What does it look like to work with you when your client's thinking about it to forever in the relationship? Because we don't want them to think it's a transaction. It's a process, and we actually deliver that visual process now. Very powerful for them to see. And then the last part is, what's your client's greatest fear? My client's greatest fear is, oh my God, what if Ross doesn't bring value? No problem. If I don't bring value, you will not pay me. No contracts, no engagements. I just removed your fear. If guarantees too strong, promise, commitment, pledge, but that's how we deliver greatness to our clients. Moving on, 3-year picture. What's our future date? By the end of 2027, what's our revenue, our profit? And then what does it look like? My dad used to say when I was a kid, do you see what I'm saying? I never really figured that out, but I get it now. Do they see what you're thinking about 3 years from now? Hey, we got a new office. We got increased benefits. We got this, we got that, we got this, we got that. It gives your people really a good thing to look forward to. And there's a little WIFM radio. What's in it for me? And if you pause here, I would share this part on every interview after they leave. If you like them in the interview, go, hey, Bob, before you leave, let me just tell you who we are, why we show up, what we do, where we're going, how we do it. And if you're here in 3 years, here's what it looks like. You've just differentiated yourself in the interview. Everybody's struggling finding people. We're all struggling with it. So you got to get over that. How are you going to differentiate yourself as a company now? This is how you do it. Moving on. 3-year picture does two things. It allows everyone to see it, and it makes 1-year planning way better. So what are we going to do this year? By the end of this year, 12/31/25, here's our revenue, our profit, same measurables so we can see scalability. And then what are our 3 to 7 goals for the year? Because we can't do everything. When everything's important, nothing is. What are the 3 to 7 most important things? And then every quarter, we're going to create rocks, which is just a fancy term for 90-day priorities. Vern Harnish came up with the term, Stephen Covey brought it to life, but every 90 days, some goals might take 2 or 3 quarters, some might take 4. And now we've atomized that every quarter. What's the rock? So future date, same thing, revenue, profit, same measurables lining up. And then the issues, anything that's getting in the way of your vision or could help you. So issues can be anything. Absolutely anything. So that's the VTO. And then you start sharing this vision every quarter, and you are 100% ahead of everybody else. The next major tool is the accountability chart. I don't care about king and queen and all that. That's what an org chart is. I don't care about titles, who does what. I'm not here to change that. I just want to know internally who does what. And we call this an accountability chart. I work with my wife. She's my integrator. I'm the visionary. We have 4 seats. I'm going to show you what this looks like. But if we didn't have this, we would be stepping on each other's toes. So if you're a solopreneur and you bring in one person, this will help you. Again, EOS believes titles and org charts can create dysfunction. We always say structure first, people second. We don't build our organization around people and their weaknesses and all that. We got to go, here's the right structure, here's what we need, and then we put the right people in there. Very important. So we're always looking 6 to 12 months. So I tell every company by the end of the year, what do you want to land on in the next year on your accountability chart? Couple things here. One person can sit in multiple seats, but 2 people can't sit in the same seat. When 2 people are accountable, what happens? No one's accountable. So that's a rule. Again, 3 to 7 roles, always updating. Here we go. So every business, when it starts, has to have 3 major functions: marketing, sales, operational, finance. Those are the 3 major functions. I was in all 3 when I started my business. Many of you were as well. You also need another major function. That's the integrator seat. And this is really important. Integrators are built totally different than visionary owners. Integrators keep the trains on time, their attention to detail, their noses to the grindstone. They're a little more logical. They're in the weeds. They're running 90 to 95% of the business, right? And then we got to figure out what is everybody's roles. There's another seat, though, called the visionary seat. Totally equal in importance, but way different. And I'm speaking for myself, so I'm making fun of myself. We're going 1,000 miles an hour. We want it all tomorrow. Nothing's ever fast enough. We're a little more emotional versus logical with our integrator, right? However, we can have a little attention deficit. We can create a little whiplash. However, here's where we're really good. Big ideas, big relationships, big problems, industry trends. And so if that exists, we just call it out. And now we build out the rest of the organization. Can you imagine everybody having clarity on their seats? And some people are going to be sitting in multiple seats, but this just gets rid of that clumsiness on the left hand and the right hand and who's doing what. Very important. That's the accountability chart. You got to build it all out. There we go. Everybody's got to GWC their seat in order to sit in the seat. They got to get it. They got to want it and have capacity. That's how we judge this. All 3 got to be a yes. Gets it means they understand the moving parts. Wants it, they generally want it. And capacity means they have the mental, emotional, physical time, intellectual experience to deliver that seat. If they're not all a yes, it's a deal breaker. And so when you do this work, you're going to run into 4 people issues. Right person, wrong seat, wrong person, right seat, wrong person, wrong seat. Walk those people out tomorrow. But I added a 4th, and you're going to be surprised. The right people in the right seats. Why did I add this? It's a problem because if you pay attention to the wrong people all the time, your right people are going to leave, and you got to be careful of that. So that's the accountability chart. The next Third tool is 90-day priorities we call rocks. What are the 1 to 7 most important things we get to get done? Leaders are usually around 3 to 7, mid-level managers 1 to 3, everybody else one rock. Be careful, you can do some damage here. But we set them to hit them. We don't set them, they're not extra credit. We obsess over it. We want to be 80% or better on our rocks. I always say good rocks are building blocks for the future of the business. They make running the business easier, not harder. So 90% of your time is running the business, 90 to 92%. And then you got to block time to do rocks around 8 to 10% of your time. And you're creating a culture where people get time to work on the rocks. They're written each quarter. We got to write them smart so we all know what done looks like: specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic, and timely. And there's collaboration and teamwork involved in this. So I might have a rock that other people are going to be helping me on, but I'm driving that rock. I'm driving that accountability. And then we have weekly updates, whether we're on track or off. And if we're off track, we simply drop it down in our level 10 meetings so we can figure out why Ross is a little off on his rocks. All right. Got to get everybody a rock in the company. Like I said, leaders 3 to 7, everybody else probably 1, mid-level managers 1 to 3. We got to get everybody rowing in the same direction. Now, this is a world-class meeting we call level 10. From my experience of doing this almost 10 years, most company meetings are about a 4. They're really bad, not good meetings. And so we call it a level 10 because we're always shooting for a 10. Same day, same time, same day, same time, starts on time, ends on time, same agenda. What a concept, right? 90 minutes or less. We prepare for them. We're building team health, and we provide updates on a weekly basis, and we bring our issues. So let me walk you through that format. We always start every meeting with the good news, personal and professional news. What are we doing? We're celebrating last week's win professionally. Hey guys, I landed a new client. It was awesome. They're great. They really align with our psychographics and our target market. And I had my 15-year, this is actually true, 15-year anniversary last week. That's it. Now we're building team health, and now the next 3 are reporting only. How did last week go? We're going to read off the scorecard. We'll talk about that in a second, but we're reading off done or not done on last week's activities on the scorecard. Then we're updating each other on track or off track for our rocks. Then we put in our customer headlines: who's coming, who's going, who's happy, who's not, anything there. And anything up to this point, if we want to talk about it, we simply drop it down to our issues, and then we would create accountability. Now we got our to-dos in there. I work with my wife, you guys. I don't want to remind her of her to-dos. So when I get to this part, I'm smiling inside because the process holds her and me accountable. And now we're going to IDS, identify, discuss, and solve issues now for the greater good for the next 60 minutes. Then we conclude our meeting with a recap, any cascading messages, rate the meeting 1 through 10. If it's below an 8, we tell each other how to get it to a 10, because sometimes we have Russian judges around that don't give out 10s. We don't want that. We got to get it to a 10. What's the behavioral change to get us to a 10? And then everybody's in a meeting. We get everybody in some sort of a level 10 meeting, because if you don't get them in this kind of meeting, we're going to lose that traction, that accountability. And then the last one, guys, is scorecards. So I was an NCAA men's hockey official. Imagine us turning over the nets and no one could score. And then at the end of the game, everybody goes, Ross, who won the game? That's how some people run their business. They have no idea if they're winning the week or not. I always say this: you win the week, you win the quarter, you win the year. That's how it works. So each week, what's a good week look like for each person? Everybody gets 1 to 5 numbers that they're accountable for. I have 3 numbers. I'll give them right now. I have 25 meaningful conversations a week. Done or not done? This is one of them. I get to include this. I send out 5 traction books a week, and I send out 5 personal notes a week. Those 3 activities drives 95% of my business. If I stop doing that, I'd probably be good for maybe a month or 2, and then you'd see a real hit. So I always say this: scorecards are tripwires for future train wrecks. Tony, how much time do I have left?
You got 8 minutes left.
Okay, good. We're almost done. We're getting close. You can control it. So whatever we write here, it's something that you have to control. Some of them are going to be outcomes, but if you're not getting the outcome, that's a trailing indicator. You got to go You got to go the other way and get to the leading indicators that leads to that outcome that you're not getting in the business. So it's either done or not done. This makes managing easier because if you're constantly reminding of people, that will go away when you create a scorecard. Now you don't have to remind people anymore. It makes managing way easier. And again, what gets measured gets done. So imagine some of these are outcomes, but some of them are activities. But imagine managing your business 13 weeks at a glance. You're going to start seeing trends and patterns of red and green. Here, black, the software is red or green. And that's a scorecard. And now everybody gets a number. And so that's kind of the high level, guys. Sorry for opening up the fire hose here. I just threw a lot at you. But those are the five foundational tools: the vision traction organizer, the accountability chart, rocks, meaning scorecards. And now, Tony, we're gonna open it up for some questions. I want you guys to ask Tony and his company hard questions around EOS. I don't want to answer. I want them to answer. I'll jump in if I need to. But does anybody have some good questions for them on this operating system?
Nelson, keep an eye on the chat. And Ross, I thought you were going to get the hard questions, but I'll man
Oh,
up. I'm
I
good.
no, I got one. If they, I said let's go to them first. So, do we
The
have any?
yeah, the first question that we have is just with regards to a firm, can there be two visionaries?
No. So here's the deal. Here's the answer. No. The reason why is you have to pick one because if two people are accountable, no one is. Somebody has to play the role. And so this is where the owners got to get together and let go of their egos. Who's the best person in the room to protect and preserve the asset? That's the company. Who's the best one to drive this for all the owners? So one of the owners could be what I call in the owner's box. I didn't talk about this, but they might have one or two deliverables from the owner's box, while the other owner is playing the official visionary role of the company. So that's the workaround on that. Great question.
Awesome. Question for Tony. What was the biggest difference between trying to self-implement EOS and hiring Ross and having a coach to help with it?
I just two words came to mind: discipline and fullness. Right, the discipline of sticking with an L10 meeting and starting on time and ending on time and working the cadence. The discipline of always having your core values in front of you. The discipline of this inherent accountability. Just this beautiful one-page document that we did that you see on your screen. Every employee has it. It just keeps you on track and the fullness of it. This is a comprehensive operating system. And I just found that it just became, it was good when we were self-implementing, but I found that it was kind of like, hey, I want to get in shape. I'm going to go to the gym. I'll try and figure out which machines to use, how many sets to do, how many reps to do. Oh yeah, why am I doing this? Am I trying to get bigger biceps or am I trying to add longevity to my life? Having a trainer where I can tell him the goals and issues and challenges, and he designs a custom workout for me. And then there's the accountability. If I've committed to being in the gym every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, he's there waiting for me and challenging me and encouraging me. And that's the role Ross has played. So I would say we just achieve better results by committing to having a trainer and working with the fullness of the program.
Fantastic. We do have a question, and it's around how you incorporate the Colby exams, and do you do like quarterly workshops, Ross? And can you talk a little bit about what it costs to work with someone like yourself?
Yeah. So, Tony, do you want to talk about Kobe? Or you want me to answer that?
I just think I'll throw Colby in.
Yeah.
It's obviously an employee screening tool or a potential employee screening tool. I think they're great. We use it as well. There's a couple of other tools that we use and one that's recently been proposed to me. But I'm going to go right back. I'm going to use those in conjunction with GWC. Do they get it? Do they want it? and are they capable? And then through that awesome filter of our core values, can they show genuine care? Can they get stuff done? Do they know what it means to go the extra mile? Are they resilient? And do they have a growth mindset, both personally and professionally? And you weave the outside tools together and the EOS tools together, and you've got a winning formula to attract and retain the people that best fit your organization.
Yeah. I mean, the Colby is a tool that is EOS buys into. So it's an official tool. What it measures, guys, is your cognitive ability. It measures your problem solving, how you naturally solve problems. And there's 4 parts to that, not to get into it, but we do teach that inside the EOS process. I don't teach Colby workshops outside of this. It's all baked in. And the EOS investment, depending on where you're located, is around 40 to 50 grand a year. I always tell people I'm a $25 an hour employee that you could fire at any time. There's no contracts, there's no engagements. Every session is guaranteed. And that's the fee. And you pay as you go. You don't pay a lump sum or anything like that. Just being
Ross, and
100%
I have to
transparent.
tell you that
Yeah.
that's some of the best money we ever spent. And oftentimes, and I'm not even going to say we spent it, we invest that money in our business, our people, and our clients.
Yeah. I got a good question if you don't have another one, Nelson.
I do have one more, and I think it's
Okay,
a
good.
good
Yeah, go to
one.
the wall.
Ross, you touched on a little bit, even when you have 2 employees, you're starting to add complexities. So the question here is, if you're trying to use EOS, but you are a smaller organization, you've got more limited staff, how can these types of tools, still help and still help run in a more efficient manner?
Yeah, like even if I was my own business owner, like I would definitely have a VTO. And as soon as the accountability chart is not just for employees, guys, it's for contractors, vendors, partners. So if you're a solopreneur and you've got a lot of dependency on other people, you can put them in on your accountability chart. What 3 to 7 things do they need to GWC? And so I always say this, if you can't do it small, you'll never do it big. So why not start while you're growing? Tony, if you would have had this when you were starting out, don't you think you'd be in a better spot? I mean, not that you aren't, but you would just get there a little quicker, right? Like you wouldn't
I
have so
might
much, you know what I'm saying?
I might be retired now. No, I love what I do
Yeah.
too much, but man,
Yeah.
it would have removed a lot of friction and a lot of
Yeah.
time, a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety, a lot of grief. I just
Yeah.
can't say enough things about this suite of tools and our relationship with you. It's just gotten
Mm.
easier. It's gotten easier and much more clear.
I would 100% if I did my own thing or with 2 people or more, I would do this tomorrow. Like, and all those five foundational tools are downloadable. You can go right to the EOS Worldwide website and download them. All free, ready to go. Help first. Here we go.
Hey Ross,
Yeah.
one other thing
Yeah.
real quickly is
Yeah.
the interesting application here. It's
Mm.
not just about business. What is your
Yeah.
10-year plan for your life? If you're on track, what does that look like after 3 to 5 years? Let's back it into a 1-year plan and let's break it down into high priority, manageable 90-day goals. I mean, you don't want to impose a business plan on your marriage and your family, but you can have it in the background and it just becomes the language and the lens of success, both
Yeah.
business and personal.
Yeah. And so this leads you just triggered my question. Now, here's my question. My question is, Tony, and I get this a lot. I'm going to ask you because I want you to answer it right here for everyone. There's a common problem where we all try to do too much. Everybody's super busy. How do you guys handle too many things at once?
Well, I used to have an issue, and I'd run into Patty's office and interrupt her flow, interrupt her time. Now we have a repository for those issues and a forum to discuss them. So, this whole issue of having an L10 meeting, you know you're going to get heard. You know your issue is going to get addressed, and you know your high quality leadership team is going to be there as a sounding board to bounce ideas back and forth, and they can bring their issues in. So, and things are prioritized because we have our long-term issues list that we review on a systematic basis, and we have our short-term issues list So when we bring up our L10 software every Monday at 11 o'clock, the short-term issues appear, and Patty will say, let's vote on the 3 most important ones to address today. So all the important stuff rises to the top and gets solved. And if we're solving 3 or 4 issues every Monday, we're getting traction, we're making progress, we're assessing the most important things. And when I feel, because I get to be the visionary, when I feel overwhelmed and there's so many things in my brain, I just take a breath and I think, now, soon, or later. And I can position it much better for my team, because I'm the guy that can go to a seminar and come back and projectile vomit 50 ideas at the team and then ask, when are you going to get them all done? This is a great filter for those that have ADHD and are prone to, to too much synaptic activity.
Yeah, and guys, when I was talking about that visionary integrator relationship, this is why you need a strong integrator, because think of the integrator as the defensive coordinator. They're the ones shielding us from all the whiplash and ideas. And so what Tony's saying is he's not going directly into the company anymore and whiplashing everyone. He's putting them on a list, whether it's short term or long term. It's a tool in EOS. I didn't talk about it. It's called compartmentalize. So your ability to say no is key here. Nope, we got everything's on a shelf. We got everything on a shelf. This is what we're working on. Because if everything's important, nothing is. And that's why this is so very important to compartmentalize. Really good. Nelson, anything else? Come on, I want some good
No,
questions. Give me some sauce here.
no other live questions at the moment.
Well, that's perfect, because
Okay.
we got 15 minutes left. We got some wonderful guests. And Ross, just to close up that last comment, you mentioned the greatest productivity hack of all time has 2 letters. It's the word no. Or if you're kind and gentle, I can't make that a priority right now. EOS brings things into priority. I want to introduce Wade Christensen from Furling Anderson. Wade is our go-to guy on tax issues. You can do your own taxes. You can have somebody fill out your forms at year end, or you can spend time methodically planning and strategizing to pay the lowest amount of tax that you possibly can. Wade works with Christine and I on a personal level and with Par McKnight on a corporate level. He's served us incredibly well, and I'm eager to see how Wade gets through a slide with 1,000 words and gives you guys some tax advice from the big, beautiful bill. Wade, you're up, buddy.
Perfect. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. So when I was told I'd have 5 minutes to prepare for this and to, excuse me, not to prepare for it, but to talk about it, I first had a panic attack and then had to try and figure out how I was going to squeeze something that could be an 8-hour session into 5 minutes. And so obviously, I'm not going to be able to get to anything, but I do want to ask that if anyone has questions, whether they be here today if we have time or offline, I am more than happy to help and to answer anything that I can from a tax law change standpoint. As I tried to kind of think through this and break it down, the tax bill basically was in 3 buckets. As most of you might be aware, the individual income tax provisions that were in the original bill from back in late 2017 were set to expire here at the end of this calendar year. And so that was the impetus for why we needed, some sort of tax law change, because obviously people have gotten used to these and no one wants things to go away, such as, where the tax brackets were or how deductions were working. And so I would kind of break this down from that proverbial 40,000 foot level, as the tax bill is 3 things. 1/3 is just a simple extension of what was already in tax law. So for example, the individual income tax rates, everything was set in stone and is the same as they were for the last 7-8 years now. And that is a permanent change. So no change in individual income tax brackets. The second third of this bill was taking things that were in tax law and maybe enhancing them or changing them or kind of doing it just a little bit differently, both good and bad, as we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And then The third of this bill is really new things that are being pushed into play. Some were made permanent, some were only for short-term time frames, and will only be for a couple of years here. So that is kind of the overview of how we're seeing this bill: a third. So as we look at it, so for some of the provisions that were included that I want to expand a little bit on, one of the things is, we're looking at certain items that have phase outs, and what that means is, as you get to certain income thresholds, you're going to lose the ability to take them, and they may actually end up costing you more in income taxes. And so from a planning perspective, we're really looking at a couple of items that are on this slide. One of them being the additional standard deduction, more so for seniors, so those that are ages 65 and above. And this is an additional $6,000 deduction. It was kind of the verbiage that was surrounding this was to offset, if Social Security was being tax-free, but actually what it was is an additional deduction that's allowed for seniors. You don't actually have to be receiving any sort of Social Security income in order to get it. So it technically has nothing to do with receiving Social Security income. All it has to do is it says if you're age 65 or older and you make less than $75,000 if you're single, or $150,000 married joint, you get an extra $6,000 deduction. As that phases out, though, we do actually lose the deduction, and the tax rate in that phase out can be up to about 35%. So you don't see that in the tax bracket rate, but it's the hidden kind of piece behind some of these things. And one of the other items, a little bit further down in this slide, is the state and local tax cap, so the SALT. Many of you are aware that one of the changes that was made back in late 2017 was the amount of state and local income taxes that you could deduct on your itemized deduction as a personal taxpayer was limited to only $10,000. Starting here in 2025, that cap has been raised to $40,000. However, it starts to phase out and goes back down from 40 to 10,000 when your adjusted gross income goes between 500,000 and 600,000. And so, again, as you're phasing down on that, your effective tax rate, as you lose that extra deduction, if you're inside that phase out, is actually over 45%. And so, again, you're not going to see that in the tax table, and that's what we're really focusing on as we, meet with our clients here towards the end of the year. Is there anything we can do to massage your adjusted gross income this year? Is there anything we can do to make sure we're taking advantage of that cap and getting the full $40,000 deduction? Can we prepay some state income taxes? Can we prepay some property taxes if you don't actually have a full $40,000 as a deduction? And so these are, again, as we're looking from the planning lens for our clients, which is just as important as the actual compliance, filing your return. These are the types of things that we're looking at towards the end of this year. Some of the new deductions that were brought into play, getting a possible exclusion of income for those that receive tips as a primary source of revenue or have overtime income. Those also have adjusted gross income phase outs that will kind of reduce the possible usage of that deduction. For businesses, the ability to deduct in the first year the entire cost of any items that you purchase for capital uses. So the equipment, furniture, fixtures, computers, all those types of things. It was going to be only 40% of the cost under the bonus depreciation for 2025, but instead it has been enhanced back to 100%. So basically, if you buy a $40,000 piece of machinery, we can have the ability to write off the entire $40,000 up front right here in 2025. Charitable giving. This is one thing that we are looking at a lot for our clients as we get towards the end of this year. There is going to be a change starting in 2026. So we've got about another 6 weeks to possibly take advantage of some additional charitable giving. What's going to change as of the 1st of next year is there's going to be a floor implemented for those individuals that donate and take an itemized deduction against it. That floor is we have to subtract 0.5% of your income before you get $1 of benefit. Meaning, if you earn $1 million, the first 0.5% or the first $5,000 of your donations is no longer deductible, and that adds up quickly and can be something that we'll want to definitely take a look at and see. Do we start stacking some donations here in 2025 before the end of the year, before this new floor comes into play? And then finally, we've got our wonderful state friends that this is not just Minnesota. This is several states across the country that have not adopted these provisions yet. We're still, in kind of an unknown of what they're going to accept, what they're not going to accept. The Minnesota legislature doesn't go back into session until February. So as always with CPAs, there's never a dull moment. We're going to have to really watch for that, figure out, how we react for clients. But just note that some of these changes are not going to be available at the state level, or maybe modified at the state level. So this is not just, plug in the software and away we go. There's going to be a lot of planning that needs to take place. So I'll maybe stop there. I think I took my 5 minutes to try and get through that as fast as I could. So thank you, Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Wade. That's great. And I saw you left your estate planning bullet point out. We're going to pivot there, but I just wanted to recall something funny that you said a couple of pieces of legislation ago. I think you called the legislation the CPA Full Employment Act. Quicken's not going to take over your industry because there's way too many nuances involved. So thank you for that. We're going to turn now to Scott Huseby and Natalie Roberts. A couple tips for estate planning. A lot of business owners, their main asset is their business. And what happens to your dough when you go? Make sure things are in order. Scott is Christine's and my personal attorney. And Scott and Natalie are one of the favorite places where we send business. They're clear. They work to understand families and understand businesses. They write simple documents that not only reflect the law, but they reflect the core values of our clients. So Scott and Natalie, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Tony. Ross, wow, great presentation. I can certainly see why Power McKnight loved working with you. Ross, you mentioned the importance of core focus. At MMB, our core focus is working with business owners. Natalie and I want to share a couple of succession planning ideas today, and Natalie will talk a little bit on some estate planning issues. When I start working with business owners, the first thing I ask for is a copy of their buy-sell agreement or their shareholder agreement. If it's a single owner business, oftentimes they won't have one. I'll talk a little bit about that in my next topic. But if there's multiple owners, I want to see a thoughtful agreement that lays out what's going to happen if one of the owners has an incapacity, a death, a divorce, or other life-changing events that might result in an ownership shift. Not only does this protect the financial interest of that particular owner, but it also prevents an unwanted owner coming into the business. Equally important, I want to see how the agreement is going to value the business in the event of an ownership shift. Most of the shareholder disputes that our firm handles involve issues of valuation. And then finally, I want to see if there's sufficient liquidity either at the shareholder level or in the business itself to fund any sort of buyout obligations. We can have a great plan, but if there's no funds there to make it happen, it doesn't work. So when I'm working with a business owner, I want to make sure I understand all of their business agreements, what kind of restrictions they might have on transfers before I get into an estate plan, because it has to be consistent with those agreements. The second topic I want to touch on is something that I don't see a lot of, but we do a lot of it with our clients, and that's a separate business trust. I think most of the folks on this webinar probably are familiar with a revocable trust concept as kind of a core estate plan. What we like to do with business owners is create a separate revocable trust that sits alongside their personal trust. And the sole purpose is to own that business interest. It's like a normal revocable trust. It can be amended, it can be revoked. All the income still comes back to the owner. But what it allows us to do is possibly create an advisory board within that trust. So if I become incapacitated or die, that advisory board, usually made up of my close advisors, maybe some of my partners, some friendly competitors, they can continue to advise my successor trustee on how to continue to manage my business towards a possible liquidation. It also might allow me to name a different trustee. So for example, I have my wife named as my personal successor trustee, but she may not want to be the successor trustee in my business trust. I may want to name one of my partners, a key employee that can, again, handle that kind of transitional stage. And then once the business is eventually liquidated, the funds pour back over to my personal plan, where my wife can then administer my personal estate plan. And like a standard revocable trust, having the business interest owned in this business trust avoids probate. It prevents the disclosure of confidential business assets, and it protects the privacy of the beneficiaries. Natalie, you want to take over on the estate?
Sure. Thanks for having us. So, despite the new huge exemption amount from estate tax on the federal level, 20 states have a state level estate tax, including Minnesota, which only has a $3 million state level exemption. So that is one of many reasons not to think that, in light of the raised exemption amount, that you don't have to do any individual estate planning. So we use numerous strategies to minimize state-level estate tax, including irrevocable trusts to remove assets from the taxable estate while maintaining access indirectly or directly to the funds, employing gift strategies to leverage exemptions and take advantage of the fact that there's no gift tax in Minnesota. And then the most important thing is following the new tax law, the OBBBA. The focus of estate planners' tax objectives now includes income tax minimization for clients. And again, there are numerous strategies that we can employ in reaching your objectives, including basis planning, income shifting, and tax timing. So ask your tax planner to talk to you about stacking, for example, for SALT tax deductions and charitable deductions, and then packing for maximizing other deductions and benefits that come from the OBBBA.
Terrific. Thank you, Natalie and Scott. We've got a special arrangement with Monroe Moxness. We think this area of planning is so important that for just a nominal cost, which Par McKnight pays, our clients have the ability to have Scott and Natalie review documents and provide feedback. And I actually cannot think of one single document that's been submitted to them that couldn't use improvement or tweaking to create a better outcome. So we're trying to stick the landing. We are at 1 o'clock. Manoj, can you bring us home? Manoj Moorjani is with Calhoun Companies. He is an investment broker. He is one of the star performers at Calhoun Companies, helping business owners sell their business at the maximum value to the right buyer and making sure that their employees and their clients are taken care of. Manoj, you want to bring us home with some ways to achieve maximum value selling the business?
Sure. Thanks for your time, you guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
Okay. Great session. You're building infrastructure, kind of what Ross, you shared about is building systems. That's so much in what we want to do to sell a business for the maximum value. The very first one, build transferable infrastructure. You want a company that's not centered all around one owner. You want to be able to have a team set up, have infrastructure in place, ideal things, building systems like EOS, And the ideal business is when the business owner can go on vacation and the business is doing better without him. Can you imagine that?
I'm going to try that.
Yeah, hey, that business
What
is
a
worth a
concept.
lot when you don't need the business owner. So that's something to strive for. We have great systems in place, great people in place. It's not set around one person. So build infrastructure, number one. Number two, diversify customer base. It's very tough to sell a business where 50% is one customer. Buyers get very nervous about buying a business like that where it's not spread out. It's dependent too much customer concentration. So definitely focus on diversifying that. Businesses with recurring customer base, like insurance companies, some e-commerce companies, property management companies, they go for a higher multiple. You sell something once and you get paid every single month. Those residual type businesses are very valuable. And then the last thing I'd share is how small business owners typically want to reduce their taxes, right? You do everything you can to, prepay your expenses, push out revenue to the next year. The year you sell, you don't want to do that. You want to fatten up your bottom line. Make that company as profitable as possible. Sure, you'll pay 30 to 40%, maybe more in taxes on every dollar you book as income. But when we sell it, you're going to get 300 to 400% or even more on each dollar and a multiple on the sale price. So that's really important. Those are 3 strategies I want to leave you guys with. I've been with Callan Companies 25 years. I've been blessed to sell nearly 400 companies. And so our value proposition, if you guys have any interest, we offer free and confidential business valuations. Any interest, contact Tony and he'll connect you guys with us. Thanks for your time.
That's terrific, Manoj. Thank you very much. Say, you guys, I think that's a wrap. 3 things in parting. Number 1, Melissa, our director of marketing, is going to have the webinar up on YouTube probably within a week. So if there's anybody that that you think that might benefit from any of this content, it'll be available for replay on YouTube. Number 2, email me if you want a copy of the slides or the book from Ross. Ross promised you a copy of one of the best books I've ever read, Traction, the Foundation of Our Business. No obligation. Ross will send you a book. Just let me know. And there'll be an email going out with Wade's name, Ross's name, Manoj's name, Natalie and Scott, everybody. So just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention and for being here. And if you're a Par McKnight client, we just appreciate your trust and confidence. So that's a wrap, you guys. Thanks for being with us.